the sweet maker is a Brahmin, and then unfortunately we have to find a way of promoting that guy. The cleaner is a Brahmin, so he should be promoted soon.
Yeah, he's an initiated devotee from Nambaka Sampradaya.
And then there was one more vegetable cutter who came in as a Brahmin.
And he's a Mridanga player.
And yesterday in the APR, the devotees were expected to come, and we were left without a Mridanga player. So we called this Brahmin. Said, Suresh, come. So this is work-life balance again. Yes. So we were using one of our staff to play the Mridanga.
Wow, so engaging everyone in the devotional service.
So also we feel that if we engage the staff and they see what we are doing, then it ups their consciousness. So that's why we try, wherever we have spiritual programs, we try and get them to come. We kind of pick and choose so that one person doesn't come all the time, and everyone has to have that.
Yes, wonderful.
So, again, a very novel question, a very specific question. I've seen men running around with children. You have two girls, and you saw that she's only running around. I'm also running around, ensuring that work-life balance and ensuring hectic schedules be managed. But Madhavi, you've been in the corporate ecosystem for long and very successful multinational, and then been very successful entrepreneur yourself. How you have managed bringing up the two girls, Janvi and Vaishnavi? Yeah. We'd like to know more about that.
Yeah. So I did corporate for 25 years.
Wow. Corporate life for 25 years with Krishna
So
consciousness.
in some of the biggest companies, Unilever and BAT, and 10 years ago, and my children have grown up. I always say, you give the samskars to your children, yeah? So they see what you do, they see what you speak. If the child speaks a bad word to his friends, and then you say, my child is speaking this, it's because they picked it up from you at home. So one of my friends who's a devotee in Dubai said that we have to set an example for our children. So I think that's what we try to do at every point in time. And I must say, I'm thankful to Krishna and Srila Prabhupada that Jahnavi is a very nice kirtaniya also, and she leads a very sattvic. Even yesterday she led kirtan in some program in Dubai, and so I'm just blessed, I must say, to have two girls who kind of are very grounded, and I had a very, very tight schedule, but in spite of that, we have hosted, I think, so many devotees. Our home was known as the traveling ashram, for many devotees. So devotees from all over the world will just call up and say, Mataji, Prabhuji, we are coming and we want to stay with you. And I think, the association of devotees is very important. And when children get that association, and they used to see, and one more thing is, if you restrict your child too much, then they'll go the other way. Whereas you have to create that balance, give them the understanding. Like when our older daughter went to Penn State University in America, Penn State, by the way, is known as Happy Valley, because there's a lot of drinking which happens. So Jugal Prabhu said, and she was all of 17 when she went to the US. So Jugal Prabhu said, okay, I'll send you to the US, but you have to give children's class for 6 months and you have to chant 8 rounds every day.
Wow.
So he said that, he said that for her, and she was, she did it, right?
Wow.
Yeah, it's as we said, Krishna consciousness is packaging. I didn't say you should study Bhagavad Gita. I said you should give class in Bhagavad Gita.
Wow.
Wow.
To give class you have to study, so that's an automatic thing.
Yeah.
Why talk about studying Bhagavad Gita?
So what happens is it creates some kind of a firewall, you know. This kind of a thing creates a firewall, and then they understand what is right. So she never went the wrong way, you know. So that
That's
is how,
amazing.
and I think, you know, children go through their own pressures, peer pressure, and we as parents have to be tolerant. We have to understand them. You know, you can't restrict your child. Mom, I want to go to the mall. Yeah, I'll go with you, no worries, we'll go to the mall. Or allow them to go and come back so that they experience what they have to experience, you know.
Right.
And Jahnavi studied in a, you know, Cambridge school, which was full of, I mean, they had a handful of Indians. But I'm really happy to say that she never gave up anything which she has picked up culturally.
Wow. That's
So-
the challenge these days in India also. Like children, of course, some parents are getting more westernized. Yes, some things are good from there, yes. But I think it's very important to be connected to the roots. So it comes from devotee association. That's what we understand
Yeah.
from your
Yeah.
yes. So devotee
And I think
association.
throughout their childhood, Jahnavi was 1 year old when we had people coming and staying at our home. And any traveling sannyasi, we used to be very fortunate to have them come home, and thanks to the yatra, they used to, you know, organize. And we were very small at that time. So Kavita, Latika's mom, we were all one group of people, and we were very small group at that time. Now it has grown phenomenally, which is really beautiful. But we used to get an opportunity to host the sannyasis, so they see what you're doing. They and it's a mercy of devotees, you know.
Yes.
And
that's
like
what-
Narottama Das Thakur says in one of the beautiful bhajans, he says, Tadera charana sevi bhakta sanibas janame hoi e abhilash. You know, serve the lotus feet of devotees and you get the mercy,
Wow.
you know. And that should be our aspiration. And I think that is what has really helped the girls quite a bit.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So Prabhuji, just one last question to both of you. So Prabhuji, we heard when your father was in his last few days, and he was practically not responding to anything and only responding to the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That was a miracle which we've seen, and when devotees went to his house, Prabhuji's father's house, Prabhuji and Mataji were there, and Prabhuji's father, who was very, very sick at that time, ill at that time, he would only and only respond to the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So, how did that happen, Prabhuji? That's God's gift, but how did you make it happen?
Somehow, by the mercy of the Lord, he took to chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and he made it a habit to wish anybody and everybody, irrespective of caste, creed or religion, you know, whether it's a vegetable vendor or any hawker on the street, if they have to get money off him after the trade is done, he would say Hare Krishna, then I'll give you money. Or, you can't refuse an 80+ old man. You can't fight with him. So they used to say, okay, Hare Krishna, give me my money.
So that was his conviction for Hare
That
Krishna.
was his conviction. And then it was quite amazing to see him in his last days. He had to be shifted to the ICU. At that time he was talking a little bit. So I went to visit him in those restricted hours in the ICU. And then I asked him, how are you feeling? He probably thought that was a very silly question, not worth answering. Because I'm in the ICU and you're asking me how are you? Probably this was what was going on in his mind. And he said, tell that doctor to chant Hare Krishna.
Wow.
So I said, doctor, my 87-year-old father has told this, so I have to tell you, please chant Hare Krishna. No, tell me what he's chanting because I see him chanting all the time. Okay, call all the people in the ICU department. I said, this is what my father is chanting. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
I
Hare
said, the old man has instructed you to chant. Will you chant? He said, yes, I will chant.
That's
So,
inspiring.
and then he stopped talking also, and he would respond only to the Maha Mantra. We had to physically make him sit down on a chair because he was always lying down. And we had called Harikshetra Prabhu and Sudhir Gopal Prabhu to do some kirtan. And he could not sing along, but we gave a break to the kirtan and we told him, can you jam? And he said the full Mahamantra, nothing else he would talk.
Wow.
And even that stopped. He couldn't even chant. But he used to look in the direction of Prabhupada's chanting machine, which was playing 24 hours, and he would just fold his hands. So he was in perfect Krishna consciousness. The astrologer gave different dates for his passing away, including Mahashivratri day. But he just defied all the astrological predictions. He left on Ram Navami day.
Wow. And he would read the Ramayana, we heard.
Yes.
He used to read the Ramayana and then...
No, Ramayana was more my grandfather.
Oh, grandfather. Okay, okay.
But he was reading Bhagavad Gita of Srila Prabhupada and Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah, he used to read the Srimad.
Yeah, and in fact, he read it faster than us. I'm still reading the 12th canto. He finished 12 cantos and he started rereading from the first canto.
Oh, that's amazing. 17 books.
Yes.
And of the 12 cantos, 12 volumes. That's amazing and very, very inspiring.
Yeah, this is very, very inspirational because then we see that Krishna consciousness really works. Yeah, and speaking when it comes to spiritual words is at a different platform, a different realm altogether. So they were not able to repeat anything material, but then spiritual, they were able to chant Hare Krishna. So we can be convinced that the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is above matter.
Yes, absolutely. That's another takeaway. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra is right from the spiritual sky above matter. So, big round of applause for this takeaway. One last question to you, Mataji. We've heard that you sing very well, and we've witnessed ourselves. So why only sing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra? And there are other songs, and I can almost imagine you can sing very, very well. But why do you only sing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra? Would you tell us, please?
Hare Krishna Mahamantra is so powerful. It's very powerful. Why is it called Mahamantra? So the vibrations and the joy I get with chanting Krishna's holy names, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, or the bhajans, I don't think I'll find that kind of pleasure in singing any of the Bollywood songs, So the joy, and I think it's also very meditative, and when we get into a spirit of meditation while chanting Krishna's holy names, you feel like chanting more and more. It's an addiction actually. So whether it is chanting on the beats or chanting with the harmonium and singing, it takes you to a different realm. That's my experience. And whenever I sit in kirtan, I try to close my eyes and just focus on Krishna's holy names, because like it is said, Krishna's dancing on your tongue.
Wow.
That's when you're chanting Krishna's
Yes,
holy names.
yes.
So to have the Lord dancing on your tongue, it's said in the Shastras, it's not like I am saying it, but it's said in the Shastras. So when Krishna's dancing on your tongue, then don't you think you should chant more of that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
Madhuri. So now we are open to the audience. Anyone from the audience would like to ask any question that you may have from Mataji and Prabhuji, any basic question. Every question is welcome. Don't think that it is a very basic question. How can I ask? But they're very, very merciful. So you may ask them questions. Anybody, please raise your hands and.
Okay. Oh, here we have the Vishesh Prabhu first.
Yeah, but you can think of the question while I ask this question. Prabhuji and Mataji answered. So, Prabhuji and Mataji, like we are undergoing this Bhagavad Gita course, and Sudhir Gopal Prabhu has time and again said that this is a transformational activity. I'm sure we have covered many grounds on that, what kind of transformation we have seen in your lives. The one thing, one of the many things that I have observed in your personality is that nowadays we talk about gender equality, and Mataji and Prabhuji are always together in their business or personal or preaching life. So how does it, what can we expect by being aspirant of Bhagavad Gita knowledge? How will it transform us, all of us?
Okay, so first of all, you are very fortunate to study Bhagavad Gita from a very nice devotee whom I respect and love a lot, His Grace Sudhir Gopal Prabhu. So, and we also talked about learning Bhagavad Gita in the association of devotees, and then how the transformation happens is through a change of consciousness. Yeah, Arjuna also fought this war, Mahabharata, and Duryodhana also fought this war. But what was the difference? Yeah, the difference in consciousness was Duryodhana was fighting the war for himself, for his personal sense gratification. Whereas after hearing the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna fought the same war with the intent of pleasing the Lord. The activity is different, the consciousness is complete. The activity is the same, but the consciousness is what makes the difference. So constantly when we are trying to implement the words of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, we should always attempt at creating a revolution in our heart. And that revolution in the heart comes about by chanting and taking to this chanting of the Mahamantra, which will cause a revolution in your heart and a transformation. Is that okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody has any questions? I'm ready to hand over the mic. Otherwise, I can go on and ask another question.
Prabhuji, I am Ravindra Singh. You mentioned about your grandfather, and he used to read Ramcharitmanas or Ramayana. And in Sanatan Dharma, there are a lot of things like Ramayana, Durga Shapshati, Bhagavad Gita. So, how do we pick which is the right way for us to follow?
Oh, well, I think it's a very, very relevant question. So, Vyasadeva basically composed all the Vedas as one Veda first. And then, for easier understanding, he divided the four Vedas into four Vedas. And then he wrote the Itihasas, the Mahabharata essentially. And within Mahabharata, there is Bhagavad Gita. So, the Vedas are very, very exhaustive. I think each Veda has got, like for the example, the Rig Veda has got in excess of 40,000 verses. And it requires a lot of intelligence and intellect to be able to understand the words of the Vedas. It's very difficult to decode them with our limited time and intelligence in the material world in Kali Yuga. So all the Pandits have agreed, all the Vedic scholars have agreed that the Srimad Bhagavad Gita is a summary of whatever is contained in all the Vedas. Like Krishna tells us in the 15th chapter, he says, Vedescha sarvair aham eva vedyo. Of all the Vedas, I am to be understood. So if that is the purpose of all the Vedas, then Bhagavad Gita in a very concise form gives us that knowledge. So with our limited time, we have made it a habit to study Bhagavad Gita, which gives us the summary of all the Vedas. So Bhagavad Gita concludes that bhakti is the best method for self-realization. And if bhakti is the method of self-realization, then Srimad Bhagavatam teaches us how to follow in the footsteps of bhaktas and how to perform bhakti. Yeah? And bhakti has to be performed in a what is Krishna consciousness called in Hindi? Krishna Bhavana Amrita. So it is the Amrita of the Bhavana that we have to develop. That Bhavana or mood of learning the scriptures we gain from reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we always say Srila Prabhupada is an essentialist. He gives us exactly what is essential to go back home, back to God. You are in a football field, right? What's the value of playing in the football field? You might be an expert in dribbling the ball, but if you don't put it into the goal post, you still don't win the game. So the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita gives us the essence of our scriptures and leads us to the purpose of human life, which is going back home, back to Godhead, and that is going to place us in our constitutional position as servant of God.
Thank you.
My name is Srinivasan. Chanting Krishna Mahamantra is a great thing. It gives us immense pleasure, of course. When we have lots of worries surrounding us, how would one keep aside all those worries and start chanting Mahamantra every day in our life? That is a question that prevents many people, or at least a few people, going ahead and chanting for a long time.
So essentially the question is that how do you chant even when you're worried?
Yes.
How do you chant in that state of mind when you are having so many other thoughts in your mind and you're worried about something?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lifetime of meditation to get to a point of attentive chanting. This is always a challenge which we all have in our experience with chanting. But, and that is, why is it because of, because as conditioned souls having material bodies, anxiety and fear is one of the characteristics of having a material body. This is one of the characteristics. We are all fearful about something, right? We have 4 necessities, which I always say are unfortunate necessities of conditioned life. Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya and Maithunamcha. Ahara is eating, Nidra is sleeping, Bhaya, which is fear, anxiety, worry, as you rightly said. And then the 4th is Maithunamcha, which is sex life. These are the 4 unfortunate requirements. We feel that it gives us pleasure, right? But actually just imagine a situation when you don't feel hungry and you don't feel sleepy at night. Boy, you can party whole night in PLH, isn't it? If you don't have, so actually that's an unfortunate requirement. So to get over it is a very, very big challenge. But try to wake up early in the morning, a practical suggestion, and early in the morning during the Brahma Muhurta time, when all the devatas are also praying, the whole atmosphere is infused with a lot of positive energy. So chanting early in the morning can wipe away your worries or at least keep them away. And the worry can also be dissipated completely by the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. You know, so knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita teaches us that the realities of material existence is Janma, Mrityu, Jara and Vyadi. So these are the realities of material existence, and therefore you get a philosophical understanding that this is the reality of material life. But what is the main purpose of my goal, main purpose of my life is to develop knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and go back home, back to Godhead, where there are no worries. What is the definition of Vaikuntha? A place without anxiety. So I guess we have to keep working at it and never give up the process of chanting. Is that answer?
Does that answer the question? Okay, we have Mr. Samir now for the next question.
Prabhuji, we all know that we all have to do good things. We all know what are bad habits. But why we do bad habits? Why even we knowing, every kid knows that eating chocolate is bad for them, but we do that. Same thing with the elders. We know certain activities we are not supposed to do, but we still do that. How we control that Maya so that we can control our feelings, emotions and forgive others?
Wonderful question.
I'm also worried about how I should not do bad things. Actually, envy and sinful activity is a very, very impelling force. It is explained in the 3rd chapter how we are forced practically to commit sinful activities by the force of the illusory energy of the Lord. It's mentioned in the 6th chapter, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, that the mind is very chanchal and it forces us, and the qualities of the mind is it's also very obstinate, and it just doesn't let go of you so easily. So as long as we are involved in the material plane and keep doing material good things, the mind is not going to leave you. But when you get into transcendental activity, then it is about the modes of material nature. Then help starts coming to control your mind. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, so you don't have to be very much worried about this problem. Help will come from Krishna. He says, Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabham. After many, many lifetimes, Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate, the person who is in complete knowledge surrenders to me. And he understands Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that Vasudeva or Krishna is everything. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabham. Such a Mahatma is very rare. So what do we do then? Again, we have to take shelter of the words of the Bhagavad Gita. What's that verse from the 7th chapter? About the modes of material nature. The modes of material nature, how do you cross it? Only by taking shelter. So Krishna says in the 7th chapter, Daivihi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya Duratyaya Mam Eva Ye Prapadyante Mayam Etam Tarantite. So he says, Daivihi Esha Gunamai. these three modes of material nature, that is the Sattva gun, Raja gun and Tama gun, are my energy. Okay, we're talking about Krishna's energy. You can't defeat Krishna's energy so easily. Daivihi Esha Gunamai, Mama Maya Duratleya. And it is very difficult to cross the three modes of material nature. Then Krishna gives a solution. There is only one method. Mam evaye prapadyante. Prapadyante means surrender. And Krishna is demanding exclusive attention. He says, Mam eva, only me. Mam evaye prapadyante, maya etam taranti. Then, if you take exclusive shelter of me, Krishna says, maya etam tarantite. You will easily cross over the three modes of material nature. So, we have to take shelter of Krishna. And let's also think of it from another perspective. Because we know that the correction is taking a long time and there are difficulties in making these corrections, what should the transformation we should go through? We should become very humble. Yeah? Because we understand. Narada Muni instructs in the Srimad Bhagavatam. He says that the more you grow in spiritual life, we should be able to realize how tiny we are. So every time we grow in knowledge, we should understand that we are very, very insignificant. So we have to practice our spiritual life in a very, very humble state of mind. And then success will come.
Well, thank you for this wonderful answer. We have a question from Ruchika from PLH. She's also a very nice devotee. So let's hear from her.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Maharaj. Prabhuji, first of all, I wish you a very happy Father's Day.
Oh, very good. Very good.
You didn't realize.
We should always meditate on the Supreme Father today. Krishna says, Pitaham Masya Jagato. He is the Father of the entire universe.
Father's Day to Krishna also.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, this question is to both of you, Prabhuji and Mataji. As a couple, how do you support and inspire each other to grow spiritually and even to start? Did you start right after you both got married in the spiritual path? Or, can you tell us a little bit about your journey? Because me and my husband, we also got married recently. And would like to hear from your experiences how you supported and inspired each other, since you have lots of years of experience with that.
Right.
Tell her the nice thing.
Okay. Right.
We see almost everyone smiling there. So.
Yeah, so we didn't start off immediately after marriage. I must admit that. And we got our Krishna consciousness, or rather, we started practicing as devotees in Dubai. Now, when we led very normal lives, like how everyone leads. We are still normal folks, but now the goal. We understand what is the goal of life, right? At that point in time, the only purpose of life was just to make money, make house, those kind of things. And Prabhu and I have partied hard too. Okay, so it's not like we are saints who. This thing is hurting my ears, so I was messing around with it. Yeah. So we and then we came and connect with the devotees, and then the first day when his friend had come and we went to Mahamani Prabhu's home, I picked up all the paintings, because I'm very fond of art and stuff of that kind. So I picked up the paintings, and then I came back and I said, give me this bhajan CD, give me this book, and I bought everything from their home. And then the moment I came home, he said, "Look, I must have my weekend. Don't stop me from it." you know. Um, but then I think what happened to both of us, we started attending the programs together. And for him, it was more the lectures which we were hearing from the Bhagavad Gita, learning the Bhagavad Gita. For me, it was more kirtan and learning the verses of the Bhagavad Gita. So somewhere, I think Krishna made that arrangement, and it happens gradually. So there's no, I always say, never push the person. He didn't push me, I didn't push him. But I think, and also I never used to be able to cook without a sack of onions, let me tell you that, or garlic. And I used to make the best rajma. I'm a South Indian, but I used to make the best Punjabi rajma. But then I never let go of it. That onion just, it let go of me.
Yes,
It,
that's right.
I never made myself, I never forced myself to doing something. Automatically you start developing a higher taste, and then you start relishing something which is different. So we walked the path together. Initially, I don't think we had any hurdles, because I think we both walked the path together, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that became a little easy, but wherever I had to give him a space, his space to, to do his things, I always did that, because ultimately I knew that somewhere something will click in the brain, and then he will come to Krishna. So I always tell young couples and devotees, because I've seen, the wife takes it on faster than the husband. And then there is some kind of a little bit of a, why are you doing this? So slowly we start, feeding them Krishna Prasadam, being very patient. I think also we have to have this element of compassion. We should understand where we come from, and have that compassion. And I know you're a Sindhi, and it's not easy. But if you have tolerance and patience and compassion and pray to Krishna from the bottom of your heart, it happens. So that's how we've been able to, many people tell me, "Oh, you all are lucky, both of you are walking the path together." Initially, it was difficult for us to. But I think we just have to surrender to Krishna and say, "Krishna, please help me." And you will find the answers, I'm telling you. Many times in the situations where there's a lot of anxiety, because we are impatient, we want things to happen our way quickly, isn't it? Right, Ruchika? So, but if we just depend on Sri Krishna and depend on his devotees, things happen, And I'm speaking from my personal experience. And we have to be tolerant and compassionate to the man, and he takes it on. Yeah.
And like I said before, everything needs to be packaged nicely, right? So if we do that, then at some point we will take it on. Even Bhagavad Gita, how beautifully Krishna has marketed the philosophy. He speaks about Karma Yoga, he speaks about Dhyana Yoga, he speaks about Jnana Yoga, he speaks of different yogas. Then he says, "Arjuna, I give you your choice." But he says, "Yoginam api sarvesham madhyate nantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mata." Of all the yogis, the practitioner of Bhakti Yoga is the best. And that is my opinion. He's very democratic, beautiful in his presentation. And then as he keeps graduating, he comes to a point of Sarva Dharman Parityaja. Now, surrender everything to me and surrender. Abandon all varieties of religions and surrender. So he also does a lot of packaging. Gives the options. Then he says, "This is the best, that's my opinion." How beautifully he has packaged it. So we should also learn the art of nice packaging.
So that's how we raise both our hands and say, Haribol! 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 and Mr. Basani. So they've been beautifully helping us in this wonderful endeavor of making PLH a Krishna conscious community. And we are very, very happy to have this wonderful family with us. So Prabhuji and Mataji, a big Haribol for them. Haribol! Is Varuna Mataji there? Okay. Till the time she comes, Mataji would like to ask a small question. Yes, Mataji?
Very good, Mataji. So I've just started taking the Shiksha for started chanting, started with 1 round. I just want to understand how do I move from 1 to 4 to 8 to 16 and what's going to be the
So that's the first baby step. But we should remember, we should not remain as babies. We have to move, right? So it's beautiful that you're chanting 1 round, and the best chanting method I feel and Jugal feels, I mean basically we follow is Brahma Murta chanting. So slowly you can start moving to 2 rounds and then start focusing on the holy names, and it becomes an addiction. No? You can't go out without your beads, I can tell you that. Yeah, we all carry a, even if we do our 16 rounds, what we do is we say, let's continue chanting, you know, because that hand, the feel of Tulsi is so beautiful. She's the greatest devotee of the Lord, right? So slowly you start taking baby steps, 1 round done, so start thinking of, like we have material goals, right? I'm right now working as whatever, or I'm living in PLH. So my next thing is to move to the villas in PLH, and the next thing is to move to Laughing Waters, the next to Palm Meadows, whatever. I don't know the other communities. So there is a material goal that we set ourselves. In the same way, we should have spiritual goals. It's important to have spiritual goals because just as we see ourselves growing materially, anyway, it's going to end at one point, right? But spiritual, you carry it in your next lifetime. So if you have, if you have a bank balance of say 10 brownie points in this lifetime, you start with 10 brownie points next lifetime. But if in your material thing, नंगे आते हैं और नंगे जाएंगे, और जो कुछ हमारे ऊपर है, जब before the cremation, they take out everything, right? Yes. Whatever we have. So we should understand what we are going to carry. That's why it is known as Sanatana Dharma. It's eternal. And we should understand that we are moving and we have this brownie points accumulated from this lifetime. The next lifetime we start from there. So that's how we, with that consciousness, when you start chanting Krishna's holy names, then you want to increase the rounds and then you get addicted to the rounds. Yeah.
Wow. Just a small addition. 2 ingredients are very important. One is sincerity and consistency. Yeah. So if you start saying that I will chant 1 round at 10 a.m. in the morning. Every day do that at 10 a.m. Discipline, sincerity and consistency. Krishna loves it. And when you do that, he will find you the time for doing 2, 4, 8 and 16.
Wow.
And the next time I meet you, your name will be changed.
So, just for your pleasure and for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada, we are also taking simultaneous classes for children. And we all, there are devotees who take turns to take care of the children. Today the devotees are Varuna Mataji and Alok Prabhu also, and Nishi Mataji, who is here. Where is Nishi Mataji? Can I call you here, please? Yes, and also their wonderful son, Advik Upadhyay. Prabhuji and Mataji have just shifted from Mumbai, Juhu Temple. Haribol! So a big round of applause and Haribol for these wonderful devotees who have given their life for Krishna consciousness. Haribol! So they have 2 wonderful Vaishnavas, 2 children, who also know the shlokas very well, and he's a wonderful Mridanga player also. So thank you very, very much, but we would love to hear from you, Mataji. We would love to hear a kirtan. So please Devashi, could you please bring that harmonium? Yeah. So as we know the rule, Mataji will sing first and we repeat after Mataji. And that's how we do Shravanam and Kirtanam both. So children are requested to sit in one place and please put your mobile phones on silent mode just a little while. And today's prasadam is sponsored by Mr. Sameer and Shruti Mataji. Haribol! They are from Tower 13 PLH and this is in regards to Sameer Prabhu's birthday, which we will sing a happy birthday for them.
No, no.
Hare Krishna. So this is a call and response process. So I'm not some great kirtaniya or singer, but I should make an effort and we'll all chant nicely together. So I sing first and then y'all can follow. Yeah.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai
Krishna Mahamantra ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Raj ki Anand ki
Jai.
Amazing. Hari Hari Bol. Imagine there were 30 floors here and Krishna sitting on the top floor. How would we say Hari Bol?
Hari
Once again, Hari. Let us thank our dear guests, our dear saviors. Actually, devotees are the ones who can save us from this blazing fire of material existence. We live here, continue to do what we do, but chant Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.
So let us thank Prabhuji and Mataji. So we thank you from all our hearts, Mataji and Prabhuji. Thank you from your busy schedule of catering and serving so many people, wonderful prasadam. You managed to come here and speak with us, enlighten so many of us. Thank you very much. So once we'll chant for Mataji and Prabhuji. Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
We sing a small happy birthday, Mataji, for Samir Prabhu. His birthday is gone by, but we bless him. So please.
Bye, Dada.
Hare Krishna to you, Hare Krishna to you,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama to you, Hare Rama to you, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama to you. Krishna to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to
Thank you very much. That sounded so melodious. Thank you so much for the wonderful kirtan. It's going to reverberate in our ears for many, many days now. Please do come again and enlighten us. And we'll be seeing His Grace Sudhi Gopal Prabhu. He's our mentor for the 9 sessions of Bhagavad Gita. He's out of station and wish he were here, but we are very, very thankful to Sudhi Gopal Prabhu and even Hari Kshetra Prabhu for allowing us to do something like this here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Hare Bol.
Please take the prasadam, which is sponsored